everyone, welcome back. Christina here. I'm the gallery and studio manager at River Arts Inc. We are interviewing our instructors for our upcoming season at River Arts on Water Studio. So we're excited to bring in these instructors and have them tell us all about their artwork and the classes that they plan to teach with us. Today I'm very excited to be joined by Ali Kauss. She's in Spring Green. She is a jewelry artist. Ali, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business and your artwork?
Sure. I'm Ali Kauss, and I am a metalsmith here in Spring Green, Wisconsin. I have a storefront that operates as retail space and studio space. So when allowed, I have open doors and have my own work for sale, and then my studio, and then I have some other artists that show their work here as well. I graduated from Arizona State University in 2002 and have continued to make jewelry throughout the years, but more recently have really I've really focused more on my career after my kids got a little older. Have transitioned into something called transformational adornments that I really love lately, creating pieces that are more custom for individuals, that it's a questionnaire, it's a process where I really want to honor successes that people are having in their lives. So it's a little bit more intuitive. It takes all my skills as a metalsmith and also connects on a more one-on-one basis with the individual, with the client. So it's a pretty new endeavor, but I'm really, really loving the process. Thank you.
So I'm assuming you work with a pretty wide range of materials for some of these pieces. Can you tell us some of the materials that you work with on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. Primarily, I work with sterling silver. That is my most favorite metal. I have been working in gold too, which I love as well. It's a little bit different cost window.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that being said, I still really love sterling. Sterling is just a beautiful color. I love the symbolism of sterling. I work with a variety of stones on a regular basis, so I'm attracted to the color of them, and then I love learning about some of their symbolic references that each stone carries, and that ties into the client too. Like if you have anxiety, amethyst is really amazing for anxiety. So I'm learning about all of these different elements of stones, which I love.
And
right.
You said sterling silver is your favorite, and I'm curious, you might not have do you have a least favorite metal that you work with, or just?
Yeah, it's not like it's my least favorite for color, but the base metals like copper and brass, I love for their color, but they turn so fast, they tarnish so fast, and they also will tarnish our skin. Sure. So it's not like I don't love them for, well, I mean, I love them for who they are, but I don't love them for what they do, if that makes sense. Like,
absolutely.
And I've tried to seal them in different ways, but I haven't quite figured out how to get them to not tarnish on the skin. So I still love you, copper and brass, but I don't love to work with them. They're really dirty. They're a lot dirtier even for me to work with.
And this is probably a good time to bring up the fact that we are so happy to have you teaching with us in July of this year. You will be teaching a mala making workshop. Did I say the word right? Mala?
You did, yeah. Yeah.
And I happened to see one that you're wearing at the moment.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about a mala and maybe its history or what it is?
Sure. I'm going to read part of it.
Sure.
So I was really attracted to the mala. It is a traditional prayer necklace that is pretty darn old. Let me see. The 8th century BC is when the mala started in Hinduism. So it's a religious tool that it has kind of become mainstream in today's climate. But I still think it's a tool that reminds people of an intention. At least that's how I look at this class, is that when we make these, There is a focus word. Right, there's a tab around here. I don't know how close in we can see, but there's a metal tab that each participant gets to choose a word and then stamp into the metal tab. So this one says love. I've had community, I've had peace, I've had I am enough. Like, you can pick whatever word or phrase that will fit on this tab.
Right.
And it's really, so while you're stringing the beads, each bead represents a prayer, and it's 108 beads, and that is the traditional number for a mala. And you can, so there are also semi-precious stones that are included. So this happens to be moss agate, which is a really grounding stone. So for each class, there will be a variety of semi-precious stones that you can use too, and there will also be reasons why I've chosen those stones. So you can use the semi-precious stones as a decorative element to be part of that 108, or you can use them in addition to the 108, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
But the way I look at it, as you're stringing, you've got your focus word that is in your mind that you want to, it's kind of like an intention. So if you want to be more open to love, or you want to, love more fully, theoretically, you're stringing this mala and you're thinking about your word, and usually the class gets really quiet, as people are working. And so as you're making it, you're kind of asking for more of that into your life,
Sure.
And so then when you have made the mala, I don't expect that everyone's going to use it in a traditional sense. I don't expect everyone to be meditating every day or ever. But I also like to keep mine up on the wall, so that even when when I see it, it's a reminder of, that intention that I set.
Yeah.
So I really feel like the mala is a really traditional tool based in a really concrete philosophy, but we can use it for however we want, or however it needs to be in our world today. And I still think that's very, pays respect in the dues of where it came from. I still feel like we're respecting the tradition of the mala.
Sure, absolutely. And if anyone is interested in taking this class with you, do they have to know anything ahead of time, or they can come in with no knowledge but a good attitude?
No knowledge but a great attitude. Yep. Yeah. No, it's pretty. I feel like it's pretty basic skills for a beginner, and you will leave empowered with some new skills. And it's funny. There are always a few participants who get really caught up in the math of the mala, and then there are people who are like, they whiz through it. So it's always a really fun class, and you can be at whatever skill level that you are.
And so you say it's your studio and you offer classes there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you'd be willing to show us a little sneak peek and show us around
Sure.
your studio for a moment.
Sure. So I have been pretty much using the same tools since I graduated. There are some really fancy tools out there, but I really feel like there's some basic metalsmithing tools, and that's kind of all you need.
Okay.
So this is the soldering station. And then the bench. So when I do have a class, I reorganize things quite a bit so that there's enough room for everybody. Mm-hmm. I change the retail space quite a bit to create more of a workshop.
Okay.
But this is, I'm going to try and see if I can zoom in on letter stamps. So these are the fun stamps that are used for the mala.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And then, that's a steel block and hammer that's used. to create those tabs.
Okay.
And then that's a little bit of the retail space.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
How long has your retail space been open?
I have been here for 2 years in June, coming up
Oh,
pretty
great.
fast. Yeah.
And you're in Spring Green. Do you want to tell folks where you're located?
I'm at 120 North Worcester in Spring Green. So I think Nina's is one of the most well-known establishments of Spring Green, and I'm right around the corner from that. So it's pretty easy to find. Spring Green isn't huge. So.
No, but Spring Green has such a great reputation for being an art community. And I think it's just another example of that. And there's a lot of really great arts experiences that people can have in Spring Green. So if they drive out to visit you for the day, I highly encourage visiting a lot of other artists that are around as well.
Yeah.
So I just have one last question for you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
My last question is maybe twofold, and you can choose which way you want to answer it.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you can tell me one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given as an artist, or if you would have any advice for someone maybe just getting started in art and teaching.
Okay. Golly, this feels like it's a great question. Feels like an on the spot. I want to do justice to it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. I think what I would suggest is for someone who's just starting or, taking a class to really breathe into the space. I think some people come into a class, there's 2 different types. There's people who come in, they know exactly what they want to do. And there's another type of person that doesn't know, but creates a lot of conflict about what they don't know. And there's these limitations that they have set in place. And, you can feel it, and it really stops. And, I think that happens to artists, it happens to us as well. It's almost like creating a block for creativity. So I guess my advice for someone who's teaching or wanting to make is to relax and breathe into the space and kind of allow the creative flow to come in, and without a lot of huge expectations, because it will come through. And I really do think the creative process teaches us a lot about ourselves if we can tap into that source and see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't, I have different views on the idea of perfection, because I think when things come out and they may not be quote unquote perfect, but they're perfect because they're exactly what they needed to be.
Yeah.
And that might be exactly what it needed to be, and then different the next time because you've learned something new, you've learned that skill, and you can then approach it, a little differently the next time to create it more of what you wanted it to, the end product to be, or the end piece to be. So just take a deep breath and allow the experience to unfold without a huge amount of expectation.
I think that's great advice. We see that with the studio quite a bit. People coming in and they're almost nervous about what's going to happen and what they're going to make. And it's so important to just let yourself do what you need to do at that moment. And
and it's funny because when people ask me, well, how long does it take you to create that piece? And my honest answer is really 20 years, as long as I started, and even more, it's kind of like a lifetime of experiences, especially when you're creating something that, is symbolic. It's a lifetime, and it's a lifetime of learning for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This is Ali Kauss in Spring Green, Wisconsin. She'll be joining us for a mala making workshop in July, and I'll put a link to that class and more information in the description. Ali, thank you so much for your time and for joining me.
Thank you.